And we are back for another episode of the Post Republic. It's September 17th, 2025. I'm Adrian here with my co hosts Silas, Steve, and Tyler. And with us today, a very special guest, Joe Alexander. It's been quite a week. It's been quite a week. We took last week off for obvious reasons. Very I don't know about you guys. It's been a very up and down emotion roller coaster of sorts. How you guys been feeling about everything the last week?
Like you said, a roller coaster. It's like a full spectrum of emotions. The main one being a rage, anger, frustration. But then after the rage wore off for me, it was a little bit of a just a melancholy. You guys know me, I was essentially overdosing on white pills for months, and then something like this happens and it all kind of comes crashing down.
Yeah, it's almost like for me. I've been going through the stages of grief. It's initially like shock, and then anger, and then sadness, and then more anger. And I think I felt what you're describing, the melancholy, like today in particular. Just some things have been building up with what people have been saying. Um, when it's people it really hits home when the people that are demonically possessed um, just doing all the worst things. And for whatever reason, it really hit me today, just that the world is different now.
Mm.
And I don't think the people who are celebrating have any fucking idea. It doesn't seem like they're just so casually, I don't care. He's conservative, so he deserved to die. But it doesn't seem like it's affecting them at all. And then the other half of the country is, this is a new paradigm.
Yeah.
I don't
He
know. Yeah.
he's like the Christ figure of our century, Like I view him more highly than like the Pope or any other, religious character basically, because he was doing, you know, not only the Lord's work in his eyes, but the speaking out and having conversations with anyone. And that's what made him so dangerous, to a lot of people that just don't know how to accept the logic that they are not right.
So to me, it almost seemed like, and this is going to sound very hackneyed, but innocents died that day. America's innocents died, and a lot of people started showing who they were. And some were surprising, some weren't. I don't know if you guys saw, but Schwarzenegger came out, and he went from "screw your freedom" to "this is absolutely reprehensible." So it's good to see that maybe he's kind of coming back around. But we're in a different world than we were 8 days ago, and
Yeah.
we're dealing with the repercussions. We're seeing people losing their jobs and not understanding that there's a difference between getting someone fired for something they tweeted 10 years ago as a joke is clearly a joke, and getting someone fired because they celebrate murder. Because people, good, decent people, don't want to be around people who think not only murder is okay, but it's something to be celebrated.
Or that they would murder somebody like you
Yeah, of course.
for doing the same thing,
Over ideas.
Think twice about it.
That's that it the dichotomy of referring to conservatives as fascists is insane to me, because nowhere have we had at any point, we went through 4 years of Biden and his nonsense, and there was never any talk like this. Nobody ever went to these events and harmed anybody. And you had Butler, and there was a conversation, we need to turn the temperature down, and then just immediately right back to hammering the same nonsense. As Harris closed out her campaign in November, the last thing she said was she had a big press conference, and she's like, he's a fascist. And so I don't think moving forward that we're going to be in the same country we were in before, and I think the realization of that is dawning on us all.
Joe, what's your take?
Well, for me, I don't know how popular this will be, but I've been saying on my show for a long time, longer than this, that we've been in a one-sided civil war for a very long time. I mean, if you guys think back, the media moves at lightning speed, so people forget so much. Remember the bike lock to the head. Remember the woman pelted with eggs and other things outside of the Trump event. Remember everything. Remember just the attacks in the streets, cement milkshakes, rocks, bricks, stones, fires, all because people wanted to march for Trump. And it just, I think what we're seeing now is that the American people were asleep on all that, including many on the right, the majority on the right, who just would see the headlines, go about their day, feed their kids, go to bed, wake up, go to work, same thing, rinse, repeat. And now we're in a place where the entire country, the rational people in the country are like, what the hell's happening? I just saw blood squirt out of a man's neck for speaking to my side. And people on the right are finally realizing that this wasn't all just games. They were actually waging war on us, our values, our way of life, our president, what we want for this country. When Joe Biden won, all they have the optics of is the staged, phony January 6th nonsense.
Mhm.
That's all they have to grasp. And we're finding more and more about that, how it was staged, how it was a setup. And they're losing grip on that. They tried to control the narrative on this, and they lost the grip on that. What I think we're watching is a bullet that didn't just kill Charlie Kirk, but it also killed the Democrat Party. And I think their base helped quite a bit. And I think, although I don't think a death should be used for political gains, I think it's happening whether anybody did it or not. I think you would see the people fleeing the left that you see now because of what they've done afterwards and because of the optics of what happened that day. And especially now that we know this kid was indoctrinated. That's what I think. I think Charlie changed the country and projected it on the path towards where it needs to go for a very long time. That's what I think.
Yeah, he was activating a solution that a lot of people can fathom of, because it would take a long time, and he was at it for what, 10 years at least.
Oh,
Yeah.
at least.
At least.
And so he got that network going, and he proved that there is a way forward for common sense conversation, the battle of ideas. And I forget the saying, but there's a saying, something about God uses whatever the devil does as a greater good, no matter what. So that's the way I've been trying to view it. Is, yeah, it was horrific. However, it is spurring a rapid evolution that probably would have taken another 10 years. So it'll probably happen within a year or two. And that evolution, like you said, is on that path that Charlie was paving.
I'll go so far as to say it may have never happened to this degree, not in our lifetimes.
Right.
But this traveling, this is the awakening is happening at a speed that I've constantly said I'm always surprised. I'm like, there's nobody saying left on the left. Nobody else is going to wake up. And then something happens, and we see droves of them more just running away from that side.
Mm-hmm.
And we're looking at a situation where we've got people on the right that like to use the term far left. And I keep saying all over X, but I'm a small account. Like, stop using that term. This is the left now. Even the Democrat politicians they're treading lightly, but they're saying almost the exact same things as these people that you're seeing getting fired. They're coming this short because they know optics and all that, but you can tell the intent. And then you've got people like Bill Maher, who just said on his show, he's like, this is insane. One of you guys pointed out it was Arnold Schwarzenegger. I didn't even see that one. Yeah. So you're even seeing like big names going like, what's happening right now, And when people like us have been sounding the alarm probably for a decade now, almost, like, you guys, we're in war. Like, it's not like the Civil War that we know of back in the day. This is different. This is communists trying to take over. They were allowed to erode the party to where we see it now. And you almost wonder if the optics, they're doing the celebration intentionally to fully take over the party, because that's all that will be left. And now they are the party all the way.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can enact the communism they want through everybody getting elected that they pick out.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
That's true, but
the amount of like psychopathy and murder, like straight up murderous people, it's so mainstreamed that if you polled people who are Democrat, if they think that the shooting was in any way justified, it would probably be a majority. And that's absolutely. I saw a poll that mentioned when you think it's appropriate to use political violence, and I want to say the left was like 56%.
it was high.
For like in some situations, and or maybe that was a far left, but the far right was 3%. So it shows you that there has been total restraint. Pretty much, January 6th was a joke in comparison to all of the violence, billions of dollars of damage, lives lost, people terrorized. And I'm not sure, I've mentioned this term on the show before, if you're familiar with it, repressive tolerance, Joe. You ever heard of that?
I don't know. I don't think so.
It's basically, Herbert Marcuse talked about it. It was his essay. And the gist of it is the left is allowed to do whatever they want in the service of politics, and the right is not allowed to even protest. They will criminalize everything and allow everything on their side. And it's like the Saul Alinsky playbook, all that stuff. But you're absolutely correct in terms of it being a cold civil war, one-sided civil war, as you said, where people don't even realize they're in a war because it's been on so many different levels. You know, with COVID, it was more of the same, but just a different level of the psyop. But yeah, I don't. It's hard to comprehend, but we are having wins with Jimmy Kimmel being canceled, so that is good.
I can't even be happy about it, really.
I know
Like,
it doesn't hit the way that it did last week
with Stephen Colbert. You know, that one we
So-
were happy about.
Just so you guys know, he wasn't actually canceled.
Okay.
Just manage, be excited, but manage it.
Yeah.
And also know, so he's being preempted by the largest syndicator on ABC. So his show will not be shown on any of those stations. Most other stations will probably follow suit. Expect him to come out and make some kind of lackluster apology. But here's the thing that nobody's thinking about. I don't know. I'm kind of a radio nerd. And Howard Stern had a big controversy on whether he's coming back. If Jimmy Kimmel leaves ABC, he will go to the Howard Stern show because they're best friends.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not going to lose a platform. He may actually bring back listeners to Howard Stern. Not many. He'll bring back, the crazy loony women that are up watching him, but he may actually bolster Howard Stern.
Mm. One thing
Yeah,
that
well,
came
that's
to
not
mind.
really a win either. So, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say to your point, Joe, about we're in a war, and one of my favorite Christian speakers is Frank Turek, who's kind of going viral right now, which is a good thing. He says, "What's the best way to get picked off in a war is to not know that you're in one," and so I totally agree with you. We are in a soft civil war or a cold civil war. And, I think a lot of people on the right and a lot of people in the middle have started to realize that this is serious and it's going hot right now. And so, but yeah, like people need to get real about this. This is real. They want you dead. It's not a LARP. We're not watching a reality TV show. People are actually dying.
They call them useful idiots for a reason. And if the revolution was to go through, they'd be the first taken care of. But they're violent and they don't put any thought into what they say. That's why they can believe that Ryan Wesley Routh was a Trump voter. But he's going from Hawaii with no job, from Hawaii all the way to Florida with no money. Him and Crooks were both in BlackRock videos. people can dismiss this and then just believe what they're told.
Mm. That's
Well,
right.
the Jimmy Kimmel thing, Stern is already, from what I understand, low ratings on. I mean, nobody listens to Sirius XM anymore.
No.
No,
I always was the Opie and Anthony guy over that, and then they ruined that when they got rid of Anthony. And personally, like I feel like go over there. It's Sirius XM. You're paying for radio. I don't know,
So-
man. I stopped when I had an MP3 player built into my car. You know what I mean? Even though they still offer it, but like you guys were just saying, as far as the Civil War thing, like people forget. Nobody even knows who Aaron Danielson is. You know what I mean? He was shot dead by Antifa in Portland. People forget.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
that
And
is-
then what was the other guy's name in Wisconsin? Bernard Trammell.
oh, I
he
don't
was
even
a-
remember that one. That just shows you.
So
Yeah, he was a Trump supporter who was also a Democrat who would put pro-Trump things out in front of his store in Wisconsin, and they shot him dead when he walked out of a store one day.
I just wanted to add on to what you were saying, Joe, earlier. You were talking about the Berkeley bike lock offender. And does anyone remember the mentally challenged Trump supporter that
Yep,
was
in the
snatched
back of
up
the
and
car.
beaten?
Yep.
He was snatched up and beaten. And we don't talk about that, but we talk about Juicy Smollett. They just released a documentary on Netflix that said it may have been true. What are we even doing?
You're kidding me, right?
No, I am not. There's people who are like, yeah, that really happened, even though the two people he paid to do it, the two Nigerian men he paid.
Well, I can't wait for the Tyler Robinson was a Groiper documentary that we're going to get.
They're struggling for that one. I don't think that narrative's working.
I
That was-
think it'll work with the people who just want a story to avoid the cognitive dissonance of the fact that their side is turned into a very dangerous, violent, murderous side, unfortunately. So it's just more for convenience. It's those narratives are to allow those people to tune off and listen to Jimmy Kimmel on Sirius XM. But I want to say something about I've seen calls for unity. I've seen this, people post this on Facebook like, now's not the time to be dividing us. Trump is not unifying. Listen, when you're asking for unity, you're not asking for unity. You're asking for mercy. You don't want to unite. You just don't want justice. You don't want retribution. You don't want people to correct the imbalance that's going on so many levels with society. So when you ask for unity, you have to understand that that's not really what you're asking for if you're being honest. Because if you knew what if this was, let's say, a neo-Nazi who had killed a prominent let's just say like a black liberal influencer or something, like Trevor Noah maybe.
yeah.
And it turned out that he had hated Trevor Noah and he had been, just tired of his shtick, and then somebody's like, hey man, we need to ask for unity. Do you think you're going to go for that? No, that's not what this is about. It's just and Spencer Cox and the horrible rhinos like calling for unity, like read the room. Look at the time. Do you know what time it is? I don't think you do. But.
So, have you guys heard of this armed queers of Salt Lake City thing?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's another sign that the Civil War has been going on for a while.
They're
Because-
scrubbing all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, and
There's
it's
a few
dangerous.
accounts.
It's dangerous because they know that they're in a war, but our side
Yeah,
doesn't. We
exactly.
just, a lot of conservatives are like the leave me alone types, and it's like, and I'm that way too. I didn't want to be involved. I was like, leave me out of this until finally COVID really forced me to get involved. I had, once my business was pretty much ruined overnight, I was like, okay, I got to figure out what's going on here. And I know I've mentioned it on this show before, but, I turned on CNN and I turned on Fox News for about 5 minutes and I could tell that they were lying about Trump immediately. And I was like, okay, well, I already, it took me 5 minutes to see who was the dishonest, psychopaths. But the people like us just want to be left alone. But I think it's amazing that, what Charlie did was actually activate people politically, and especially Christians. Christians have been so weak and allowed the liberals to take over all of society, just because they said, oh, separation of church and state. And all the Christians have been so soft that they're like, oh, we don't want to tell people like what to do or anything. Hey, the liberals told me that you can't legislate morality. But then people like Charlie Kirk came along and told the church, hey, wake up, get involved, stop being a bunch of spineless wussies, and start standing up for what's right. Otherwise, they are going to steamroll us, and they're going to destroy every semblance of liberty and freedom, and they're going to install a totalitarian dictatorship, or maybe not a dictatorship, but a totalitarian communist regime. So I'm frustrated with the church because they are the ones that let it get that far, and I'll put a little bit of the blame on myself. I was like, oh, I'm not going to get involved. This is stupid. Politics makes people crazy. I'm not going to pay attention. It's all rigged anyway. But really, you do actually have a voice. You do have a vote. You do have a say. It still is working. Of course, there's some rigged elements to the political system. But what Charlie did was actually prove that one person can actually make a difference in politics. And he pretty much single-handedly, everybody's all saying Elon Musk is the one who delivered the victory for Trump. No, it was Charlie. Charlie did it by mobilizing the youth vote, and by getting out there and registering voters and winning the debate. And that's why they killed him.
Well,
Absolutely.
that, and he would say things that they considered to be violence. They considered his words to be violence because that's all they could do for us when it came to violence, is consider words to be violence, because they really weren't seeing actual violence from any of us. So they had to find something to call violence. So it was words that they don't like. And then that gives them right now, matter of fact, we got Ed Krasenstein 44 minutes ago about the Jimmy Kimmel thing. They're not the people. To your guys' point, the people that are telling us that we need to unite and that we need to tone it down, Ed Krasenstein goes, attacks on the free press is a hallmark of fascism. And then underneath that, we've got the Biden-nominated FCC Commissioner, Anna Gomez. I saw the clip. Jimmy Kimmel did not make any unfounded claims, but he did make a joke. This sets a dangerous new precedence, and companies must stand firm against any efforts to trade away First Amendment freedoms. That's not what's happening. And that's funny to me that that's the story that they're going with now, that this is fascism, when how many of you, like I said before we started, I lost a 15K sub channel on YouTube for talking about COVID, honestly, and not their narratives. So it's funny how their cancel culture is all of a sudden fascism when we dealt with it for almost all of 10 years. And they're going to amp this up. And they're going to amp this up. And despite us recognizing that what they were doing was fascism, this guy got fired for being a slime bag and lying about a story openly on network television. Okay. We were telling the truth about COVID, and we all got canceled, lost jobs, and all kinds of stuff. And that wasn't fascism to them. That was the way it was supposed to be, because we were going to kill people if we did it that way. You know what I'm saying? Do you see the hypocrisy here?
Well,
Yeah, we'd be a fascist if we didn't do all those things.
Right.
And it wasn't just taking away people's social media. I just got to interject real quick. It was going to be vaccine mandate.
Oh, yeah.
And had Trump not been president and we had Barrett and Kavanaugh, you would have had to have your vac. You would have had to have your papers to get your, stand in line at the bread line to get your potatoes.
We were there for a minute.
We were very close.
Well, to go to a concert, you had to have a proof that you were vaccinated.
Well,
yep.
I mean,
and this whole situation for me is very reminiscent of COVID, where there's two distinct sides in completely different dimensions. We're in completely different realities, where there's people that are saying, oh, all this is good. And then you're saying, hey, this is crazy. You're mandating experimental medicine and it was tested enough. Just take it. Like, Like you're not able to comprehend that this is a paradigm shift. Oh, it's just like seatbelts. It's just like school vaccines. No, this is literal tyranny and authoritarianism in every way. I think what their definition of fascism is at this point is honestly just when the Overton window moves in our direction. It doesn't even equate to anything principled. I mean, nothing they say is true about anything. So it's just when the right starts to win, or just the sane side of America. I hate even calling it right, left. It's sane people and deranged people. Let's just be honest about that.
Well, there's the people that cheered on Butler. There's the people who are cheering now. And a lot of people who were in the middle or neutral or didn't want anything to do with it. A lot of them, I talked to them in my real life. They're disgusted by it. So yeah, there is the element of the deranged people behind the scenes doing what they can, decentralized, no leadership, which is terrible because there's no head of the snake to remove. You can't stop what isn't. It's like fighting smoke. And they've had education's been captured since at least the 80s, but realistically before that, especially higher learning. But you see, one of the biggest things that troubles me are young, elementary school teachers, preschool teachers, people who work with children, celebrating this and saying that this is okay. These are the same people that were, they had the trans flag on the wall. They wouldn't pledge allegiance, but they had the trans flag on the wall because that was what was important. And at no point should your sexual identity be that important. And we kind of we joked about it, we laughed about it, but we never but we didn't have a way really to fight back then.
Well, you're speaking about teachers. Did you guys hear about that teacher in Canada who showed the clip of Charlie Kirk over and over to his class?
Like a 6-7-year-old said this is good.
Of him actually getting
showing him getting shot over and over, which is deranged to anybody. But this is the level of where within that left-wing sphere, on Reddit, Blue Sky, you see the crazy shit that people post. And I know the internet's not real life, but the internet does impact real life. In a lot of ways, it does represent people's mindsets. And so what I'm saying with this Canadian teacher is, that's the point where we're at, where somebody could even conceive of doing that and thinking that's a good thing. And you're absolutely right. They should not be around children. Nurses and doctors who say this, you are not to be trusted, because somebody comes in with a MAGA hat, you might just decide to make another Charlie Kirk out of them. And that is this what you said, I think earlier, Tyler, about cancel culture. This is not cancel culture. Cancel culture is having a wrong opinion about something that people disagree with. This is keeping civilization safe from people who don't deserve to have any position of power, at the very least, if not participate in civil society at all. If you believe these things, we need to make an example out of everybody and make the Overton, like, self-police through the culture. If it's not going to happen through politics, it at the very least it happens through culture. And so, yeah, it's hold as many people accountable as possible.
When you have cancer, you don't negotiate with the cancer, because it tends to be very ineffective. You have to fix the problem. Your foundation of your house cracked. Go ahead.
I just wanted to let you guys know I just got X updating over here, just so that we can keep things also updated. Trump just announced at 7:26 p.m. that Antifa is now a terrorist organization.
Yes.
Wow.
I thought that was worth interrupting for.
No, yes, do it. Thank
Finally.
you, Joe. Breaking, yes. I love it. Finally, though, a little late. I mean, I guess better late than never.
10 years too late almost, but yeah.
He tried in his last administration, and I believe Christopher Wray pushed back. He He wouldn't allow him to.
Mm-hmm.
And then, they tried, like I've explained before, when Biden was in, they tried to make the greatest terrorist threat white Christians,
Mm-hmm.
so they could go to war with us. I don't know how they didn't manage to do it. I think because they never did it in public. I'm sure they did it behind, what was it, Operation Arctic Frost or some such nonsense.
Yeah.
They did it behind the scenes, but they never brought it to the forefront. Because I think they thought they had 2024 in the bag, and then they would get through that, and then had Harris won, Obama would have started really pushing his nonsense.
Well, I think they didn't think they had it in the bag because that's why they tried to kill Trump.
Mm.
And then, now there was just sheer desperation, like, oh, put Harris in there. Like, I think they were scrambling then. To be honest.
Well, people say that, but it was Democrats that pushed for that debate in June. I think they were ready to take him out. And hear me out on this. I got to put my tinfoil hat on for a second. Who was basically the only other Republican candidate in the primary?
Nikki Haley, was it?
Yeah, Nimrata.
Yeah.
That's her real name, by the way. And so had Butler happened, she stayed in long enough to get enough delegates so that the RNC that was like a week or two later, she would have been announced as a candidate, and we would have had Nikki Haley and Kamala Harris, two sides of the same disgusting coin. I really believe that was what their plan was.
100% was, yeah.
And
just like they were
moved...
encouraging people to switch sides to vote in the primaries to get rid of Trump. Remember that?
Oh, they've always done that.
Or
now,
Trump candidates.
I don't know how much you guys know about our political system, but the Democrats have what they call super delegates. It's why, even though Bernie Sanders was winning primaries, they gave the delegates to Hillary Clinton. The only reason Trump was able to become president is Republicans do not have that yet. I'm sure there are people like Mitch McConnell and these square eggs that are pushing for it to come so they can control. And the Democrats haven't had an honest primary since probably the one John Kerry won somehow, because people got confused and thought he was a celebrity. They thought he was Frankenstein and he was gonna, but I don't know.
So getting back to the domestic terror designation, when are we going to start seeing people get rounded up? Because that they know where these people are. They have to know this. If the NSA is anything close to what they say it is.
Yeah.
Well, they've been also investigating Soros, and I think he's one of the main funnels of money. So I think they've been mapping it out for a long time.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, all these networks are there. And Joe, I'm sure are you familiar with Days of Rage, the book about what was going on in the 60s and 70s with the Weathermen and all those groups? Like, and this is maybe well known to everybody, but the people that were involved in that, Bill Ayers was where Barack Obama started his political career. Never was charged, and they became prominent lawyers. Bernadine Dorn, Bill Ayers' wife, was a lawyer at the same firm as Michelle Obama. So, and there's, I think Angela Davis just got another honorary doctorate from somewhere, who she was involved in all of that. What I'm saying is the institutional aspect of this. If there was anything close to the Weathermen on the right, can you imagine? Let's just, the closest thing we have maybe is Ted Kaczynski. If Ted Cruz started his political career in Ted Kaczynski's office because he's now a professor. I know Ted Kaczynski killed people, but the Weathermen bombed the Capitol.
Yeah.
And they didn't
Weather Underground.
They didn't go to prison. So this shows you how, I think it goes longer than 10 years, to your point, Joe. I think it goes, we've kind of had a communist infiltration for a long time. It's just gone hot.
That's why I say, like, I'm not going to call them far left anymore. I'm just going to call them Democrats. The Democrat Party was the party of the KKK. What was the KKK started for? Political violence and intimidation. I mean, nothing's changed. They just hid it for a few years. You know what I mean? And suppressed the radicals and made it so that they look they could separate themselves from it. But when you're left with only that left in your party, which is where they are pretty much heading now, you can't separate yourself from it. And the more we call them far left, the more we allow them to separate themselves from it. I do just want to point out, though, in his Truth Social post, he didn't say domestic terrorist. He said major terrorist organization is what he's designating them, not domestic terrorists. So it sounds like he's going the route that he went with the cartels. Now, do I think he's going to bomb somewhere in the USA? No, but is he going to send in to, let's say, Portland and that one block where they have taken over and I can't even remember what the building is, but one of these business owners is allowing them to organize and assemble in there all the time. They can raid the hell out of that, and there's nothing the governor can do. That's a terrorist group. That would be like coming to Michigan and Whitmer being like, you can't send the National Guard to Michigan to what is it called in my state? I can't even remember the name of it. It's like always the topic of Muslims. I used to go there as a kid, and it didn't used to be that way. Anyway, you know the town I'm talking about that's been taken over. That'd be like Whitmer saying you can't go in there even though there's like a terror cell in there that is literally about ready to blow something up, right? So the way he's labeled it, I mean, unless he's using the wrong language and labels it different after this announcement, and he does go to domestic terrorist, the way he's labeling it, I think he's going to have a lot of leeway as to how he tackles this now, as my point. And I think we're going to see a big change soon when it comes to the people in Portland, man. I feel bad for them. And I get they voted for this. Hey, Cheryl, I get they voted themselves into this and they continue to do so, but still, there's still sane people there trapped, just like California. You know what I'm saying?
And, you know, even if there are people who publicly say, I'm against this, Portland's turned where they actually wanted to fund the police more because they realized, holy shit, we're creating an absolute hellscape here. And Antifa is just like if you let a child do whatever they want and they get away with it, and then they grow up and become Antifa because as a society, we haven't policed it. We've encouraged it. They've been given money. They've been denied their existence, and yet they were bailing out rioters, which so many politicians openly talked about. And so I think in 2020 it would have been justified, but it's almost like we needed to just let it play out. I mean, as horrible as it is, I don't think we needed to. At a certain point, but now there is consensus more so on anyone who's worth listening to, who's not going to say, yeah, I don't agree with Charlie Kirk dying, but can we have unity? No, we need justice before unity.
Yeah.
And we need to be able to trust that you're not going to kill us too.
And
So
now's the time. Now's the time. There's a window here. You know, there's a window here, and the right needs to, or Trump and JD Vance and all them, they need to do something. You know, I remember one of the first political conversations I ever had with you, Adrian. You said, yeah, a lot of times politics comes down to people just saying, do something, like do something. And that's how I feel right now. And you were kind of saying it in a bad way from a libertarian, maybe ANCAP perspective of like, well, maybe doing something isn't the best thing. But right now I'm like, do something. I want to see something. I want to see some justice. I want to see these weird Trantifa terror cells infiltrated and taken down. This was definitely a conspiracy. It was plotted out. People knew about it. And those text messages that he sent to his furry lover or whatever were it was totally just a stage scripted, you know, it's 100% fiction. And when I first heard the guy reading him off, I don't know who it was, the attorney general or somebody in Utah, one of those higher ups. He was reading the charges, and then he goes and reads off the script of the text messages. And because of the way he was reading it, it didn't hit me at first of how scripted and how like weird it sounded. But then when I went and read the transcript, I was like, this does not sound like the way somebody talks. He's like a way a 22-year-old talks. It's like, oh, my old man is going to be so mad if I don't get grandpa's rifle back. It's like, what? That's what he's going to be mad about? And who says old man? I think there's probably 15 people in this country that says, oh, my old man. So this is definitely a conspiracy. And I want to see the FBI like a full on mobilization against these groups that are probably plotting even more actions like this.
Yeah, I think it is. There's a reason he didn't say domestic terrorism, and it's because, like I was saying, Soros is a big funder, and I think he was trafficking people in through Biden's era to bolster his numbers on everything. And I don't think it's just Antifa. I think there's a few other organizations that are pretty much terror cells waiting to be activated.
Yeah, I mean, these are communist agitators committing violence and committing violence in a political way, and textbook terror. And then you assassinate somebody, but he wasn't the first, like you said, Joe. This has happened.
Mhm.
You know, the Andy No, was it Andy No who got hit with the bike lock?
No,
No.
he got. I don't remember exactly what happened to him. I think he got jumped from behind and hit with a cement milkshake. The guy
Oh
with the
yeah,
bike
you're
lock
right.
was just some guy, I think, that was just marching in a Trump parade or whatever, a Trump march, a pro-Trump march. I don't even remember that guy's name because it's so long ago. And then, you know, we heard reports that people that were going into the inauguration for Trump were getting pelted with similar. Like it.
So
I'm
do
just
you
glad.
guys-
I guess I'm just glad that our side finally woke up because the other side's known what's going on for a long time.
I mean, I go ahead.
I was just going to say about the bike lock. You know, that was a college professor who swung the bike lock.
Of
And
course.
Did he
you
get
guys-
promoted afterward?
no, he got fired, and he worked at Berkeley, the same university as Ted Kaczynski. You guys indulge me for just 1 second. I'm
Yeah,
going to
go
read
ahead.
something to you. So you guys know Khrushchev? You don't know him. The former prime or leader of Russia. In a
Soviet Union, right?
Yep. He said, this is a quote he delivered in 1959 to the UN about America. He says, your children's children will live under communism. Your Americans are so gullible. No, you won't accept communism outright, but we will keep feeding you small doses of socialism until you finally wake up and realize you already have communism. We will not have to fight you. We will so weaken your economy until you fall over like overripe fruit into our hands. The democracy will cease to exist when you take away those who are willing to work and give to those who would not. Remember, socialism leads to communism. So how do you recreate a socialistic state? 8 levels. Healthcare. They control the healthcare, control the people. Poverty, they keep us poor. Debt, as we all know. Gun control, which they've been fighting. Welfare. You know, they try to make everyone reliant on the government. Education, we know. Religion has a lot of people have gotten away from the faith part of it and just kind of, you know what I mean? And then obviously the class warfare. They back in 2009 when there was the Tea Party and there was any other time I could think of it, Occupy Wall Street. They were going on at the same time. That was left wing and right wing. And they started saying, wait, we're fighting the same people. And Obama's, you know, his ministry of truth started getting out there that, you know, they diverted and they started dividing us along racial lines. They didn't kill Martin Luther King for fighting for black people. They fought him because he started organizing people along social class rate, you know, by class, not by race. And that's where they need it. There has to be a ruling party that cannot be touched. So that was my piece on socialism.
And I 100% agree with you on that because a lot of people don't understand the history of the United States. We used to, long before any of us were alive or anybody watching, the Socialist Party used to be on the ballot just normal all the time. And it stopped around the Russian scare type stuff and all that. And maybe even before. I'd have to brush up on my history on that one. But yeah, they staged events, financial collapses to enact socialism. You know, Social Security is a form of socialism. People don't like to hear that. It offends them. But when you pay into something, and I could die tomorrow, pay into that my whole life, I'll never see it, but somebody else is still going to get it. I don't have an option to opt out of paying into it unless I get paid under the table, of course, which is illegal. Social Security is socialism. They got us to accept it. Then there was welfare with the financial collapse. Oh, this will help everybody, you know, that's struggling right now. And these are all now things that are mainstream and accepted that we allow our government to do. Now, there are people that wouldn't make it without Social Security now because they're too old to work. And that's how we've got the system set up now. But at the end of the day, that goes back to what you just said. That's what they've done to us. They've raised over the years, they've made everything more expensive. They've lowered the cost that you get paid every week, so on and so forth, so that it's harder to save for the end of your life. That's the reality of it. And then that makes your brain say, I need this. I need this socialism.
Yeah, I think the way that they ultimately got enough of the population to accept communism or socialism, whatever you want to call it, same difference, but is through the culture. It was the cultural elements, the cultural Marxism that leapt in through the universities and then normalized things like gender identity and critical race theory, and critical and queer theory, and all of these things. And if you think about it, if we've been under a cultural revolution, some people compare it to more Maoist than Bolshevik. It's probably a combination of the two. But if you think about it, if it's been a cultural war, it is kind of fitting that the tip of the spear would be the trans issue, because it's so, making somebody accept something that's not real, to the extent that if you allow, or if somebody believes absurdity, they'll do atrocity, as the quote goes, and I can't say it enough.
Well, and that comes from the Communist Manifesto. That actually says in there at some point, I think it's the Communist Manifesto, where it says right in there that they need to, that is something they need to do, is to get people to question who they are to their core, to be able to take full control. And we're there now. That's critical why you see these teachers doing it.
It's the ruthless criticism of all that there is kind of so it puts people into a false consciousness, and then it creates chaos, and then it creates an opportunity for them to take control. Real quick, I wanted to bring up, Joe, you mentioned that the socialists used to be on the ballot. Eugene Debs was a socialist candidate who ran for president from prison. He actually received 914,000 votes, about 3.4% of the popular vote. And he ran from prison, was an avowed socialist.
That was the early 1900s, wasn't it?
1920.
Yeah, I think so.
Can we create a bumper sticker or a shirt that says McCarthy was right, or has that already been done?
Oh, it's been done.
Okay.
It's been done. The problem is, so McCarthy was going after communists, but the popular media, he was going after figures in the media. They made a movie with Bryan Cranston less than 10 years ago called Trumbo. Is about a guy who was an avowed communist, and he got blacklisted because of that. So none of us know what we've seen and consumed in media, and the suggestible people would probably, that's why there's no movies about people taking over any government ever. But there's tons of movies about how great and how entertaining, trans women are.
Well, you know what? Off of that point, real quick, this is something I've thought about for a while, but how many Revolutionary War movies are there other than The Patriot? The founding, what well-known movie media do you know about the American Revolutionary War? The founding of our country.
Just The Patriot.
Just The Patriot, and it was only because of Mel
Hamilton.
Hamilton. Oh god.
Yeah. Get out of here.
Exactly.
All right, there's a few apparently, but not, like you said, not a lot. And it didn't list yours. The Crossing with Jeff Daniels, 1776. Because you asked a question, I'm like, I think you're right. Drums Along the Mohawk with Henry Fonda, Johnny Tremaine, which is based on a novel, The Devil's Discipline, and then the one you mentioned, which they didn't mention here. So what is that?
So practically, pretty much nothing. in this,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I think you're freaking right. And then it turns out that you were pretty damn close, because 6 movies out of, we've got how many Vietnam movies? So God, the list goes on.
And I think we can all agree that Hollywood is a tool of communist indoctrination, right? So what better way to disconnect and deracinate the population than to never talk about the founding of their own country, except in the context of slavery. What was it, the 1619 project? They wanted to basically replace that as the new founding myth of America. And it's been a demoralization campaign, and also to disconnect us from our heritage and any value, or like the founding fathers. They removed Thomas Jefferson statues. They took, which is what communists did. And meanwhile, I want to point this out, in Seattle, there's a fucking huge statue of Vladimir Lenin. And it didn't get touched during 2020, funny enough, but I digress.
Well, of course not. Now, you mentioned the American Revolution, and the greatest story in history was told over 2,000 years ago. And outside of the Passion of the Christ, okay, how many serious interpretations of that can you think of? I do not include the Last Temptation of Christ.
Yeah, exactly, because that's like...
Well, and then they just made Jesus Christ Superstar with that weird lesbian Skeletor bitch.
Yeah. No. I said serious interpretations that someone... if Kirk Cameron's not in it, we're,
Yeah.
Well, can we all agree that Mel Gibson is a based legend?
Oh, yeah. Mel Gibson's phenomenal. Everything he touches is great.
I'm okay with them not making any more Jesus movies. Passion of the Christ is pretty much a perfect film, and I think it is a good time for. I'm going to rewatch it myself. I think it's a good time for everybody to rewatch it and really kind of take stock and start asking those spiritual questions.
But think about it, Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
So people are growing up, they watch movies, they watch entertainment, they consume entertainment, and they're getting nothing with a positive spiritual thing. Everything with a priest is either, they run into the church to hide in the confessional, the priest usually gets shot, or it's a story about how corrupt the church is. It's never uplifting.
I do have a good one. I think Constantine with Keanu Reeves is a fire movie.
It is.
I think it's a great movie.
Based on a comic book.
Yeah, but it doesn't, it doesn't paint the Catholic Church in a negative light. It doesn't. It actually, what I love about that movie is actually just it treats Christianity as if it is true.
Oh, of
and
course
that demons do exist. And there's that line in the movie where he says, "Well," she's like, "I don't believe in the devil," and he's like, "You should, because he believes in you." And I think that's powerful, and I think people really need to start waking up to this type of stuff.
So you remember Constantine when the priest runs into the store and he's trying to get booze, and he's smashing the bottles open and he can't get it into his mouth? Absolutely. I absolutely love that movie. It's the only sane use of Gavin Rossdale that isn't music, but there's never been any serious treatment. So if you really think about it, our formative years were spent on RoboCop, which is basically a commentary that the government trying to control crime is all bad always.
Well, anti-heroes too. That became a huge thing where, Walter White was idolized, which he's a horrible human.
He became a horrible human.
It's a great story. Don't get me wrong. I don't mind an anti-hero story, but that just dominated to where I think it normalized a certain level of criminal behavior.
Same thing with the Joker. Venerating a psychopathic villain. It's sick, and I'm tired of it. And I love Christopher Nolan, and I don't think that he was necessarily trying to do that. I think a lot of Christopher Nolan's movies are pretty based, especially just Batman in general. But it's the public that just loved it. They loved it because we live in a sick fucking society. We are sick collectively. We have serious mental issues. And I personally believe, I'm probably the most religious person in the chat here, but I think that there's demon possession and then there's demon affliction. And I think a lot of these trans people, they're all demon afflicted. Some of them are probably demon possessed, but I think that a lot of mental illness is actually demon afflicted. But
I agree fully. What's going on right now, it's revealing a lot. And this brings up a clip I have. If you guys want to watch this real quick, just to indulge, the humor that some left-wing comedians are taking from this, and the route that they take. Michelle Wolf. Are you guys familiar with her when she hosted?
Oh yeah.
What was it? That bullshit press correspondence dinner that nobody cares about anymore.
They press her face into dough to make monster cookies, don't they?
Um,
I'm not serious. That's a joke.
shoot, I thought I had it here.
Sorry, did I share it too soon?
I did that.
Oh,
Hold on.
She she had something else too that she did. Just another terribly unfunny, shocking level comedian. Another Samantha Bee.
I'm just gonna go out on a limb and offend people and say I don't think that women comedians are funny usually.
How dare you?
Sorry, I've not seen one that's
Well,
funny.
wait, just hold on, Joe. This might change your mind.
Okay.
Right-wing commentator Charlie.
Wait, is the sound not sharing?
I
No,
hear
it is.
Weird, I can't hear it for some reason.
Oh, that
All
was
right,
weird.
well, I'll play it for you.
Kirk was shot in the neck talking about guns. He was very supportive of the Second Amendment and the right to own guns. He was also a bigot and a misogynist. Does that mean I think he should have been shot in the neck? No, of course not. I would much rather him live a very long life and grow old to watch his daughter become a successful, independent career woman who's maybe a little into witchcraft. Like think of all the things he might have seen in his lifetime. You know, like a lesbian president, nationally recognized Muslim holidays, beautiful mixed race children, unisex urinals, stuff that would have.
I don't know if we can tolerate it anymore.
I was gonna say, you almost saw my headphones come off. This shit
I couldn't.
You changed my mind. There is a funny woman.
Yeah,
Not her though. I don't know where that one might be.
yeah. I mean, but like, I hope his daughter could grow up so that she could get into witchcraft. I mean, what a line! So funny but so true that you believe that.
I guess that goes back to my point I made earlier, where that is the base that's left. They're all Satanists. Look, you don't have to, if you're watching this and you're not religious, you have to understand that even if you don't believe in God or Satan or any of that, you look at it like this. When there's a large populace of people that are invoking something that is evil, and they are doing it collectively, we heard about the witches trying to cast spells on Trump and all this and that. Things will happen. Things will materialize because we're made of energy, negative, positive energy, right? You get that's how I look at this. So whether you believe in these things or not, they believe in these things and they can manifest from your belief in something. That's period. People can believe, they can will away a disease in their body if they believe that they can. It's a proven fact. So if you can do that, you can manifest evil. You can manifest a demon. And when you look at these people that are left and you look into their eyes, do they look like human eyes to you? They look black. They look dead. They look empty inside, like vessels. So I guess I'm trying to reach the non-religious people out there and just say, these people have literally given themselves over to demons, whether you believe in them or not. That is what has taken over them at their core and their belief systems. You can't support ripping a baby out of a woman limb by limb, no matter what the situation is, and not lose some kind of your humanity.
Well, it's not only that, but just the way that some women almost use it as a flex. Like, oh, I've had 4 abortions. We played that clip a long time ago of those 2 women talking, and one of them was like, I've had 5 abortions. Oh, I've had 4. But she was making fun of it. Like, that's not something to announce as something you're proud of. But to that level of inversion that we've been under, like demonic inversion, where we're viewing sterilizing children as virtuous, as tolerant, as like the sane and scientific, compassionate, whatever. It's only someone possessed by a demon could believe that. I can't view it any other way.
Chopper Dave has a good comment here. Demons aren't like the movies. Demons affect consciousness. They will infiltrate and leave you a shell of your former self. You can see it in the eyes often. I really think the key word here is infiltrate. You know, demons and Satanists, they're infiltrators. And same thing with like the communists and the socialists. You know, they're infiltrators. They infiltrate Hollywood. They infiltrate the institutions of higher learning. They infiltrate churches. They've infiltrated the Catholic Church. I don't think anybody can argue about that. Even a lot of Catholics would agree with that. No. So, you know, I always used to say, if I were the devil, what I would do is I would, infiltrate the church and, manipulate them. You know, this is the first thing I would do. You know, and the devil...
pride flags out front of some churches.
God is trans. God is a lesbian. God is non-binary. That guy.
Well, and you know, the devil leaves alone people that are kind of on, like people that are neutral. You know, he doesn't focus on them as a target because he's already got them, you know? So the more religious you do become, or the more spiritually awakened you do become in that direction, you know, the more of a target you get on your back. And I've experienced that personally.
That's why you see a lot of Hispanic people who are very deeply religious. That's where a lot of your possessions are. Let's not forget, the Catholic Church does do exorcism. And it's not a joke. It's not a movie. It's not the girl spinning her head around and puking pea soup, which they made it into. Mm-hmm. It's a very, very real thing. It's a fight for the soul. Yeah. And that movie was made for entertainment, but there's a lot of truth in it. And people dismiss it because it's in a movie.
Well, what a perfect way to convince everybody that, demons don't exist than to create a systemic, secular cult of scientism. It's all about science. You know, it's all about matter. It's all about just, it's all about just studying the physical reality, and all of our truth comes from science and scientists. And then you get trust the experts, you know, so the scientism cult, which I've been studying for a long time, has it was a concerted effort to stop people from looking into the spiritual aspect of life. And
you sound like you're talking about Carlton Sagan.
Oh, I hate Carl Sagan.
No. Carlton Sagan. Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's just as
bad. Clever joke.
He's Carlton Sagan. Okay, that was a good joke. That was a smart joke. Laugh, thank you, everyone.
If he's so smart, why'd he bite that guy's ear off?
Well, scientism, let's be clear, scientism is a version of Satanism.
Yeah. Yes.
Because people who worship science worship man's knowledge above God, above nature. Mm-hmm. That we have the ability to change nature in any way we see fit without any concern about, is this in accordance with God or the nature of reality, or no, we can just do whatever we want because of science, which is a version of Satanism.
Yeah. Controlling reality is one of the cornerstones to a satanic type of worldview. Let me just read this other one just because it relates, Chopper Dave. Angels are also real. Thankfully, one saved me from drowning when I was a kid, felt a hand on my back, pushed me back to swallow water. If saying that makes me crazy, oh well.
No, I definitely have felt the presence of a guardian angel a few times. I can't explain it any other way. Sometimes it's miraculous, but
well, you don't need an explanation. You don't need a justification. You don't need a scientific.
Well, but what's the science of the angels? Where can you test it? Where can I test it?
Yeah.
So, well, the thing that I just wanted to point out real quick, since we're on this topic, is that I've noticed a lot of posts on X and elsewhere of people since Charlie's situation happened, coming and saying, I've never gone to church before. I want to go now. Right? Where do I start? How do I do this? And it just kills me because,
for real.
The Bible says in it multiple times that you don't need a church to know God. You just need to, where more than 3 people gather, I am there.
Absolutely.
You don't need a priest to tell you what the Bible says when you can go buy a copy yourself and read it. You don't need church to be spiritual or believe in God. Matter of fact, most churches, I would say at this point, I wouldn't trust in it anyway. I don't know who this guy is in his private time. Is he a hypocrite? I don't know them in their private time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the fact that they want you to give them money in a lot of these churches, it's like, that's not going to God. That's going to this guy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then some goes to charity and stuff. So for people that don't know where to start with getting a Bible and reading it, if that's what you need to do. You don't have to rely on man to bring God into your life. He says this 3 times at least in his own book. So start there. Yeah. Don't start at a church. Work your way up. If you decide you need that support for whatever reason, go. But at the end of the day, you don't need it. You know, look how many churches we've seen just get exposed for just being not good, and the people running them and stuff. Mm-hmm. I got one just up the next town up, big old pride flag, no American flag, big old pride flag hanging out in front of it. Everyone's welcome on the sign all day, every day. Like, isn't that the point to church? Why do you feel the need to put that on the sign with a pride flag behind it? I'm just saying, you know.
Look, symbology is important, and it's so to people who don't believe in that, that's very what's the word I'm looking for? Demoralizing to see the institutions they're invaded. Now, people, human beings as a whole, need to have something spiritual light. Okay, you know, that's why you need to have gender identity. That's why you need to have race identity. If you don't have faith, you have to fill that hole with something. And that's why, and I think a lot of people don't realize that the left, these absurd characters are as dedicated as any religious person would ever see. You know, they feel the same way that you do about Christ, about their gender, because they had to fill that hole, and that was what was in vogue. That was what was cool. Nowadays, if you're 16 years old and you're not mentally divergent, you're not cool. It used to be if you didn't have a Super Nintendo, you weren't cool when I was a kid. And now if you're not a they, them who's on all kinds of psychotropic medication, you're not cool.
Well, it's like that's how I show I'm virtuous, is to show how oppressed and downtrodden I am with all my disabilities and my identities. It's like inverting Christianity in some ways, and just inverting value in general, where your value in society was measured by your accomplishments, whereas now it's measured by your intersectionality and what characteristics you can get a victim card on. And I mean it's a perfect way to completely demoralize a population, because you've inverted their value system to crave being disabled, to be not normal. I don't want to be cis heteronormative.
Yeah,
if that word should be removed from the English language. It's cis hetero, the whole phrase.
Just get rid of that word and you're fine. Replace it with what it actually is, normal. You know, they had to invent a different word for normal, because then that would be admitting that they're abnormal.
Well, I want to ask you guys a question about the situation that we're in with the people that are possessed by demons, who are wishing death upon anybody who just speaks out and disagrees with them or represents something that, offends them. These are people that are in your life, most likely. Mm-hmm. It might not be close. Yeah, that's the correct way to go. But they might be in your social circle. And I've seen this with friends and family. And it really strikes a nerve, because when it's far away and it's just that crazy person on TikTok or Instagram, it doesn't hit like
as much as you can't really connect to that humanity. Like, I can't believe somebody's like that. But then you know somebody who's like that, who you perceived in other situations to be generally a good person, and yet they espouse this demonically possessed viewpoint. What are we as people that are aware of reality and what's going on? What are we to do because clearly debate hasn't worked, right? And I don't want to go to war. I don't want violence. I don't want, I see these people, like, it's hard because I'm conflicted in terms of do I just cut myself off from all these people as much as possible? What is your guys' take on, like, what are we to do with this situation that we're in?
I'm conflicted in that way too. I'm very tempted to just never talk to a liberal ever again. I want to segregate myself completely. I want to encourage everybody to just segregate completely. Like, let's go to Oklahoma, Texas, red states, and let's literally ostracize and kick out anybody who's a liberal and just segregate completely. But at the same time, there's tons of lost souls, and we're kind of called to care for them, to minister to them, to preach to them, to pray for them and stuff. So I'm very conflicted in that way as well. So I think my intuition is telling me, keep going, don't give up. If there's people that are demon possessed, like literally demon possessed, you should probably separate away from them. But look for those people. A good way of explaining it, and this comes from Frank Turek, is whenever you're having a conversation with somebody, especially in a spiritual sense, you can do this in a political sense too, is always assign a number, make an assessment of where they're at. Are they a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4? A 4 is somebody who is completely lost. It's somebody who is just full on blue anon, crazy, borderline demon possessed, anti-theist. A 3 is somebody who's almost there but still has a little bit of semblance of rationality. A 2 is somebody who actually can be convinced. 1 is somebody who's like totally open. And so make that assessment with the people that are in your life, whether it's family or friends or coworkers or whatever. Whenever you're having a serious conversation, make that assessment. Where are they at on this spectrum? If they're a 4, just save your breath. Don't even argue. Don't even waste your time. But making that assessment is basically what I do. And then once I make that assessment, then I can kind of figure out what the best way to proceed with that person is. So,
well, in terms of the Democrats, as you say, Joe, what percentage of those people are not 4s? Because I'm seeing less and less by the day. And it's hard to, like, after we went through COVID and BLM and the assassination attempt and then the assassination, and you're still clinging on to all of this baggage, how are you not basically a 4? I mean, I'm sure there are still some 3s and 2s, but it's so hard for me to comprehend how you couldn't be asking some fucking question at this point.
I'll just start here. I wanted to address the trans thing because I didn't say anything there. I wanted you guys to finish your point there. But one thing I want people that end up seeing this or are watching now to pay attention to is how almost every trans person you see will be wearing some kind of satanic symbology on their body. It's not even, I'm not being dramatic. I'm not making this up. There'll be earrings. There'll be a tattoo. There'll be a shirt, something. Baphomet is real, and that is what they represent, just so people know. And as far as what you just asked, I've been proven wrong 3 times during COVID, after Trump was shot, and now. I kept saying I think all the same people left the left, and then it kept happening. Things kept happening. I can't imagine what could top this to make whoever's left there leave. I saw a post on X where the woman was like, we had a conversation in the middle of the street with a lot of my neighbors. She said she was wearing a MAGA shirt, and she said that she was talking to them about what just had happened, and most of them didn't even know about Charlie Kirk and definitely don't like Trump. She had no idea all this time. Her kids shovel their driveways. They're elderly. And that kind of stuck with me too. I'm like, these are people that, okay, they're not online like we are. They're not up informed by every second their pocket vibrates with some kind of new information like we are. I mean, I know they have cell phones and stuff, but they probably don't keep up like we do, right? They're on Facebook. They see pictures of their grandkids, maybe a political post here and there. Those people are still reachable, and they're probably actually religious. You remember Vance Bolter? You know who that is, the guy in Minnesota. You remember how the left found out he was religious, and immediately they were like, nope, he's a right-winger because of that one fact. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, these people are still on the left. It's just, I feel like, again, I've been proven wrong 3 times. I feel like they're probably the elderly, the older, I don't know, 55 and up types or whatever, maybe older than that, but that aren't constantly on social media being updated, checking information that they hear on the news. They're just being told what they hear on CNN usually, and so on. I think so. I do think that there's some left. Those are your, what did you say was the highest? The ones and lower or up?
4 is the most insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are what's probably left on the left that are the ones. And anything above that, I feel like, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I farm at home. We don't have liberal friends. I don't seek out liberals. I don't want anything to do with them personally. I just don't, because there is one liberal woman who's older that was, she's the mother of a friend of mine. I help her with her computer and stuff. I go over there. She's constantly spewing false information about Trump. Then I show her reality and explain the reality and stuff. But you can see it's not sinking in. She watches MSNBC all day.
So,
and she's older. So
can
I
I
would
just,
put her like a 3 or a 4.
well, some people can't be saved. We're talking about liberals. What do Donald Trump, Tulsi Gabbard, and RFK Jr. have in common?
They all used to be Democrats.
Yeah.
They're classic liberals.
Yeah.
And a lot of people struggle with that. When you say Trump's a liberal, they're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. No, he's socially liberal. He's very liberal. He was the first president to come into office pro-gay marriage. For whatever it is. Pretty much, you can be against it, that's fine. He is a social liberal. When people think Jimmy Carter, or he's funnier than Jimmy Carter, but think Jimmy Carter and JFK, these are the kind of people that we're talking about. What we have now, your Chuck Schumers, your Nancy Pelosi's, your AOC's, they're not liberal. And yeah, ever since the Smith Modernization Act got repealed in 2015, they've just been able to go on and spew absolute nonsense. And look at the way discourse has crumbled in this country. People don't talk to people they don't disagree with. The one guy who did is the reason that we're here all talking tonight.
Well,
and it's an absolute shame.
Yeah, it's still hard. That's the reason I posed the question is I'm grappling with this, like we all are. Joe, you probably have the best way of dealing with it if you can do that. But some people, you have close family, you have people you've known for a while that are in your same circle. It's a challenge. But in terms of the below, let's say, I don't know how old we all are, but below 45 and below, what percentage of people who identify as Democrats are not a 4 at this point? Like 2%?
I would say 70-30.
You still think there's 30% under 45?
I do. I think there are people who have no idea what
low information types.
They get bad information. They get it from, first of all, CNN's not a source anymore. Nobody watches that.
Neither is Fox News, really. Jeez.
Agreed.
Hey, I like Fox News, okay?
They're two sides of the same coin. If Gutfeld isn't on, I'm not watching Fox News.
Steve, so what you're saying is there's 30% of people under 45 who are Democrats who, if you showed information about, pick your topic,
they
Yeah.
would be open, and they just haven't been reached because it's not in their social circle. I
It's
mean,
not-
I'm genuinely asking because it's
yeah.
I get
Um,
insulated in my own social circle, and I think, oh man, everyone's one way or this way, or like where I live too, in particular, a liberal city. It's very
So-
easy to think everybody thinks this way.
As you guys know, I live in Cleveland. So it's a much different demographic than California, Colorado. I don't know where you are, Joe. But I deal with a different kind of people. You know, the people out here, even in blue Cleveland, you would be surprised the number of Trump voters there are that weren't before. I literally worked with a girl who went from hardcore left, and in the year I was there, she went to, we need Trump back. It's possible. Nobody is completely lost. I do understand what Detox is talking about, though. It does get to a point where you're expending too much energy to try to bring someone back. If they want to come back, they will. I think what's missing, I've mentioned this before, is the community that used to be in church. The whole town used to go to the same church. Everybody knew everybody. You knew the people in your town. Now you don't know your neighbor. You know people who live on the other side of the country, which is great for perspective, but it's not great socially. I enjoy getting on here and talking with you guys, but I talk to maybe 3 people in my real life.
Well, getting back to Charlie Kirk, I think that's what made Turning Point USA such a powerful organization,
Absolutely.
because it took it literally to the grassroots, which is cliche, but sometimes it is that simple. It's just localize, organize at that level, and get people involved, and then you also meet like-minded people. So it's
But you change minds. They never.
yeah.
Well,
So go ahead.
I was going to say, you never see the people whose minds are changed. You see the people he debates with. Most of the time, he makes them look foolish, and they'll cede some points. But then the effect is the crowd around them, the people who watch Charlie's videos on YouTube. He had such an effect because he was so young. He was plugged into all this stuff. He grew up with the internet. He was able to touch, so I'm a grumpy old man. I'm 42 years old. I'm ancient today, but
Sure you got everybody beat here in age.
that's fine. But what I'm saying is, he was young, and he's not the only one. Now they've managed to demonize a lot of people. Feel about him how you want. Milo Yiannopoulos, before he got onto drugs, he was a powerful force, but then he bullied Leslie Jones, and they deplatformed.
Well, he also said something pretty
That was after.
questionable about children or pedophiles or something, if I recall.
Right. Some instance, I think that happened to him where he talked about
Yeah.
it in a very strange way.
It
Yeah.
happened. When he was a child, he was touched, and he made a case for why that was okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cheryl's pulling rank,
Deal.
Joe.
Judging by that
Thanks for
picture,
taking it.
she's no older than 41.
Silas, I wanted to bring you into this conversation. We were talking about, are there people left on the left who have an inch of open-mindedness that can allow an argument to come in despite all of the programming? Is there still any room in there?
Yeah, there's always room, in my opinion. And I think the proper approach is to meet them where they're at a lot of times, except that they've been brainwashed and they've been infiltrated by the source of what we're battling, which is the devil, or negative energy, if you don't believe in the devil and God. But if you can meet them where they're at and ask questions rather than make statements and argue or whatever, just let them try to explain their stance, and you can start to see holes here and there as you ask questions, and as they're answering those questions, find the common ground to keep it like you can relate to that or whatever. And then eventually you can, they'll ask you a question, and then you can make some statements and kind of relay your own story of how you come to your conclusions and your logic. And I think that approach kind of de-escalates naturally and like throughout the whole interaction. But it's not going to work with everyone. It's a matter of each person coming to that realization on their own. But we can be, a proper mirror or like a sounding box for them to, start to answer your questions and realize, oh, something's not adding up here. They may not say it right then and there. They may argue it, to a bad point, but that's, I think, the best way to plant seeds is through the questions and accepting them where they're at, realizing they're human and we've all, been brainwashed or, thought something that wasn't true.
Have you or anyone else had the experience of actually changing somebody's mind on something that is controversial, where they said, you know what, you're right, I haven't thought of that?
I mean, Samantha, who I'm dating, just through like me accepting whatever, she was talking about and asking questions, and then kind of her asking me back, like, wait a minute, you're not mad about white on black crime or, whatever. I'm like, no. And, then I'm allowed to make my statement and my perspective. And through that interaction, it was a natural, just logic approach where she could logically get, the brainwashing out of her system.
Yeah, that's great. I have had that experience with COVID a couple times. After posting, it was just posting online, and some people came back, and I don't know if it was what I said, but I hope in a small way it influenced them to be like, oh my God, this guy's not crazy. In terms of politics, like Trump, I haven't had that conversation enough to really influence anybody, but yeah, what are you guys' experiences? Tyler, Silas, yeah, or Joe.
Okay, so like I said, the only experience I have is with that older lady who I help with the computer. And she still watches MSNBC, so I don't think I've gotten through to her, but I have shown her the truth. It just hasn't gotten to where she's been. It's not like I'm over there all the time fixing her computer or something either. So there's like long spaces, but yeah, so no. And to Steve was like, he didn't really know where I'm from. I'll let you guys know, not the exact city because it's too small.
Yeah.
But I live in a very rural town in Michigan between two liberal places. Each has a college. Some people can figure that out probably. And I grew up here, and it's always been, I never paid attention to politics till after I had kids when it mattered. You know what I mean? When I was younger, I was like, whatever. Then I realized politics matter. And since then, I realized that most people that lived here are like on the right. And then in the past, I'd say 8 years, I've slowly watched what you guys see in the big cities happening in my small town. You can drive through this entire town and you won't see pride flags everywhere. You won't see people wearing pride stuff. But the only two places that you will are by both schools, the elementary and the high school. Explain that one to me. There's a porch that has been painted. They gave up on the pride flag. That wasn't enough. They painted their whole porch railings all pride colors and have the flag. Across the street from them, there's a sign, everyone's welcome here, Black Lives Matter. That whole spiel that spiel that they've got on there, that sign.
Science
and then just up between the middle school and I guess it's like a daycare type school, there's somebody that's got like a big pop flag with pride flag colors all over it. So I guess what I'm telling you is the reason that I seem more or less accepting is because I see this creeping into my small town, and then it's like, okay, it's fine if you want to creep into the small town, but why is it right by both schools? That's what bothers me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
that's like you're trying to do conquests, colonize the local town with the pride religion, you know.
And my daughter, she homeschools online. She loved Charlie Kirk. I had her on my show 3 shows ago to talk about it. And she hears from her friends in that school. There's kids that think that they're this, they think that they're that. Guys, after the show, I'll tell you what town it is. You can look up the demographics. You'll understand why I'm just like, I'm done. It's just insane. It's a very, very small town. And to see that right by both schools, for example, that right there is what's just kind of pushed me to where I'm like, I'm done. I hope that nothing bad like this Charlie Kirk thing happens again that has to push more people away or whatever. But at the same time, there might be an event that will. But in my situation, I don't have a lot of family. I don't keep a lot of close friends around here. It's kind of a methy area, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And we stick to ourselves. And to see this just happening, it was almost like overnight. In a small town like this, I'm just like, it's too much for me. You know what I mean? My daughter, thankfully, during COVID, we pulled her out. But to hear and see what's happening in our schools here, and this where I went at one point, it just blows my mind that we're at the same stage that they are in big cities here when it comes to our education and what surrounds it. And it really ticks me off because it's like we don't have, as people who are sane and on the right, we now don't even have small towns. We went to I'll shut up after this. I just want last thing. We drove up to the UP for something all the way up. Almost, we were way up at the, like right here on the mitt. And every town that we went through had at least 5 pride flags hanging on it on Main Street. Every town. And these are towns that you blink, you missed it type towns. Make it make sense to me. How is this happening? Like, there's nowhere where it's like you can escape to. I'm sure where Chopper Dave is from, he probably doesn't see as much of it. It depends on the state. This is Michigan after all. But that's what kind of pushed me to where I'm at, where I'm like, I'm not going to bother with these people because they're taking over everything, everywhere. And that's a force to where, in my mind, like, I'm one guy in this town. I don't know who anybody's politics are. I know there was more Trump signs than the other way around, but I'm one guy. You know what I mean? And people are like, well, so is Charlie. Right.
Yeah.
I don't have the backing Charlie had when he decided to start doing that either. So it's like, I just look at it all as like, we can keep doing things like we're doing right now, and maybe the right person will watch it, and maybe they'll listen to our perspectives, and maybe they'll see that we're not all crazy and unhinged like they've been told all their lives. That's why I decided to pick up the microphone like in 2019, 2020. Like, I'm like, I got to do something, and I don't want to put my family at risk going out in public and showing my face as that, you know. It's people, local people know what I do, but that's really as far as I'm willing to go at this point. Especially, I could go up to the college town up here, but I've seen some crazy stuff up around there. It's not like huge. It's not a huge town. Ferris State, if you know where that is or heard of it before. But I wouldn't do it because, you know, these people are unhinged. It's that small of a town. They know what my car looked like, and we go there to shop. Let's put it that way. You know what I'm saying?
Small town.
Yeah. Well, they do. That's what I made a joke
No, I know.
about.
You reminding me of it. So just to help you guys kind of get some perspective on this, we're talking about how deeply people are indoctrinated. I thought of a perfect example. You guys remember growing up that Pluto was a planet, right? How many of you still consider Pluto a planet? Okay.
Yeah,
Because
I don't know at this point.
you were taught that when you were a little kid, and everybody's like, well, if Pluto was a planet, Pluto still is a planet. That was, again, Carlton Sagan who spearheaded that, by the way, if you didn't know. That's how deep it's ingrained into people. And yes, you would have to fight. I consider it a planet, by the way, too. But that's something you were taught since you were, knee high to a grasshopper. And these kids are taught this nonsense in school. This is why they push for critical race theory. I agree with you, Cheryl. they push for critical race theory. They push for, and they do it all in the under the auspice of being nice to everyone, and but we're going to upset biology, things that make sense for 0.2% of the population, and make it so that's the in thing. And you wonder, like, how are all of Megan Fox's kids trans? That does not make sense.
It's science, Steve.
Sure.
It's biology. Okay.
I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis has one. Robert De Niro has one. What's her name?
Charlize Theron has
Charlize Theron.
couple, I
She's
think.
got one or
It's
two or
almost like-
three.
It's almost like they sacrificed their kids for something. You know
It's
what I
not
mean?
almost.
In a way.
It's exactly what it is. They're ritualistically giving up their children to be part of the it crowd, if you will.
What's so evil about it is the way that they get this mind virus into so many people on the left is that they say if you don't let your child transition, they'll kill themselves. It's better to have a live daughter than a dead son. And it's literally putting the threat of they're going to kill themselves, so you need to sacrifice them for it in the name of the thing. It's just so hard to comprehend sometimes that we're even having this discussion in a serious way, that we haven't already figured this out. But
they've inverted reality. Up is down, black is white.
As above, so below.
Caring, being compassionate instead of honest is better.
Well, the caring thing to do is kill people that say mean words.
Well, of course.
That's the most tolerant. Okay, and this is something I did want to touch on as well. Because I think something that's so fascinating to me is the demons and the people celebrating and cheering it on. When they're posting it, they're doing it because they think they're going to look like a good person. They think that this is normal and that I just have to one-up everyone else's derangement syndrome. And I have to these people, when they post it, because their mind is so inverted and they're completely unaware of reality, that they think this is good. This is the end point of virtue signaling, is what I'm getting at. This is where virtue signaling goes to, I have to be a good person and compassionate by supporting murder. How much more brainwashed and completely indoctrinated do you have to be?
Well, to your point, Chopper Dave, he has like one of his favorite streamers is Destiny.
Oh God, gross.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
And
But look at Destiny. Look at Destiny.
Ban him.
he if you go look at his wall right now, he posted, I don't know if it was AI or actually himself standing behind a tree with just half his face. He's like, you'll never, something about what you've awoken now or something. Every time you look at a video of him being interviewed or on something, there's a new gun on his wall. So I guess my point is he keeps saying more over the top things than before. They're literally in the Olympics to be the most cold and dispassionate people on the planet. And he is the perfect example of it. He is like the epitome of everything you just said. He's like, oh, I made fun of little girls dying in a flood. Shit. Charlie Kirk got shot. Well, this is my go time. You know what I mean?
Oh,
and
absolutely.
then they turn around and say, we're the bad guys. It's like,
and if you think about it, if you're on the left right now and you're dealing with the situation of trans Tifa assassinating political opponents and general political violence and terrorism, you don't have a lot of options, because if you say this is a problem, you're going to get ostracized real quick. You can't admit that it's a problem. You either have to go through those narratives we were talking about. It's a groiper, or it's a conspiracy, which I kind of sometimes wonder if the whole Israel thing is, being promoted for that reason. Again, I'm not a fan of Israel. I just think that it's taking away from the fact that, no, this is a problem. And regardless of who killed the man, we know what everyone feels about it. We know that it's believable because there's hundreds of thousands of people celebrating it. So I lost my train of thought there, but
Israel didn't make that happen, is what
yeah, well, there's no direct evidence that it's them. Like, this is absurd. Yeah, there is some shady shit with the whole thing.
It delegitimizes real critiques if every single time something happens, you do that, or they do that.
Right, and Mossad does bad things. No one's denying that. I definitely could list off, but I haven't seen any like, oh, this is a smoking gun, man. I haven't seen any dancing Israelis around the shooting. I haven't seen any of that.
No,
so
and that's the thing, is to your point, is that when we see Israel get, like you said, when people jump right to that, I mean, we do have that problem on our side too, and it sounds like we have the exact same thinking on Israel. Not a fan. I'm America first. But yeah, like it almost makes you wonder if some of these people aren't intentionally planted to do that, to distract people on our side away from the real story.
So you brought up Destiny. Did you see the Discord leaks? You know who they say the other guy in that picture is, right? Nick Fuentes.
No, which leak are you talking about? Is there?
I have not seen that one.
There's a picture of, so Destiny's Discord got leaked. There's a picture of him with something he ought not be putting in his mouth, but you can't see who it's attached to.
A while ago?
I have heard that.
That was like last year.
Right.
There's pictures of them hanging out. They get along. To me, that is insane. Destiny's friends with a podcaster I enjoy. So unfortunately, sometimes I have to listen to him. Talking fast does not mean that you're giving me any information. But I think that Destiny, Fuentes, Hassan Piker, they're all there to gather up young minds that want to. Don't look it up, Joe. You'll regret it.
I was just seeing if there was articles on it with the pic. There's a normal picture of them together that I just found. Thank God. I'm not gonna. I wasn't trying to find that.
Do you guys think that? Okay, let's make a prediction here. Do you think that somebody like Hassan or Destiny will be charged with incitement to violence at some point? Because I don't know what the legal, how they charge that.
No, they're legally trained to just skirt that line. So far, they haven't said anything that would.
Well, I mean, Hassan said like we need to gut conservatives in the street. Is it because it's so exaggerated that?
It's like a big blanket type of thing. It's not targeting any certain individual, so there's no way to go after them.
So you can, I guess, it's free speech to say like, I want to kill all white people, I want to kill all black people, I want to kill all conservatives.
It isn't.
Or you should.
I have a theory. I think this is a little wild, okay? Tinfoil hat here. I do have a theory. I guess the question is that needs explanation. How does Destiny get away with it? Or how does Hassan get away with it? But let's just take Destiny. What if he is an asset that's there to bad jacket
That's what I was
liberals?
saying.
But
and that's why
jacket the left.
Fuentes?
He takes impressionable people. So kind of the same thing that AOC and Bernie Sanders do. The reason they are there is they take radical, high energy Democrats that want change and they make them vote for establishment candidates like Joe Biden. Okay. The people that want change don't want Joe Biden. They don't want Kamala Harris. They want what's his name? Meathead Zemdani or whatever the hell his name is. That's what they want. They're not going to have that on a national stage, but they're going to have people with firebrands like AOC who say a lot, but they don't say anything. But they take that radical energy. So I think Destiny and Fuentes, they take the youth and they funnel them into establishment politics.
Are you saying that? So, were you saying that Destiny raised his son to be that way? Then that he's actually on the Fuentes side?
Well, no, because he blocked his son on Twitter, which is hilarious.
I'm saying I'm saying Destiny's a secret white right winger that's
Yeah,
there to bad
exactly.
jacket the left to make them look totally insane, and we can repost him and go, look at what the left is saying, and then makes people see the left as totally insane, and that would explain why he's not charged, especially
could
under a
be.
right wing administration. Sorry.
Just real quick,
Used to be racist openly on the internet. Destiny did, if everybody remembers, he used to be
Still
like
is.
known to be racist and so on. Like there's a whole thread on him where they have the video proof.
just real quick, I want to throw in. I see Cheryl says that Destiny lost his Twitch account. He
Yeah, I
actually
saw that.
lost it in 2022. That's
He just
important
posted that for
distinction.
engagement.
He's on Kick now.
Yeah, he's on Kick. He's on. Yeah, I think he's on YouTube. He's on Rumble. He's on X. Yeah, and Hassan has a deal with one of the executives at Twitch. That's why he keeps. So, if you guys aren't aware, I know a little bit about this internet drama. Hassan and Ethan Klein are fighting with each other, and Ethan Klein had made some kind of video. He called it the content nuke, and Hassan actually got taken down for about 12 hours, and Ethan's suing 3 other streamers who streamed it. He is untouchable. There's nothing we can do to get rid of him. And it's because everybody says Jeff Bezos and Amazon, right? Mm-hmm. Jeff Bezos doesn't work at Amazon anymore. He left like years ago. It's a guy named Andy Jassy. Mm-hmm. You're focusing your energy. It's kind of like focusing on George Soros when Alexander Soros is in charge now.
So this whole bad jacketing thing actually goes back to Saul Alinsky. Saul Alinsky did had a bad jacketing campaign against Reagan, I believe, where he paid a bunch of Ku Klux or people to dress up as Ku Klux Klan, and then they held up signs that were like, "We love Reagan," basically. Yeah. That's like one of the original grand political strategy, satanic strategies from Saul Alinsky to bad jacket Reagan and the right is by showing that, oh, look at the KKK supports Reagan, and therefore Reagan's policies are what align with the KKK. And I think that's been going on, and I think the right is probably doing that too.
Well, I was going to say, that's like the David Duke endorsement.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just
like,
about to say.
David Duke endorses Hillary Clinton or Putin, and like,
yeah.
But then he endorsed Trump too. Remember? Right. It's like, what the hell are you doing? Like,
he ran for president as a Democrat. If anyone doesn't know,
yeah,
David Duke ran as a Democrat. It's a fun story. But I personally think Nick Fuentes is a cooler. You guys know what a cooler is, right? At a casino. It's basically a guy who's like a loser, and they'll park him next to someone who's winning money, and they'll stop winning.
Yeah.
I think Nick Fuentes is that, because during like 2022, 2023, when Kanye was running, he went to the White House and took pictures with Trump. Trump kicked him out, by the way, if you don't know. But I think...
And that was Milo's revenge, essentially.
Yeah, he's like the turd in the punch bowl, as they say. He's just the guy to...
Well, and I agree 100% with what Steve's saying, and they've done that a million times with all kinds of people with Trump.
Look what they do with the Proud Boys. Okay? All anybody knows about the Proud Boys is that they're racist. Never mind that their leader is, half black, half Hispanic guy. But they're white nationalists. It's a drinking club established by Gavin McGinnis in Anthony Cumia's studio. What are you even talking?
Well, again, this is repressive tolerance in work. They're just using.
They state a lie as fact and then drill it into people's heads.
Anybody who's right wing who is protesting is a Nazi. We'll just reference Charlottesville as much as possible. But
I'm so glad you brought Charlottesville up. Did you know that the guy? Okay, I'm glad you brought that up. Did you know that the alt left was basically the alt right, and that they switched sides in somewhere around 2016, 2017, and started calling themselves the alt right? And now the alt left no longer exists. They used to have a website. It's gone. They would drop N-bombs on there. They'd say the most awful thing every race that you can think about. They called themselves alt left Democrats, had a whole website dedicated to racism and all kinds of nonsense like that. And then magically they came to our side and called themselves the alt-right. And then we get to Charlottesville and you find out that the guy that staged all that, he's a 2-time Obama voter.
Right. Was
So-
it Chris something? What was his name?
I can't remember his name right now.
No.
OAN did a whole thing on it.
Cantwell, Christopher Cantwell, I think maybe.
That might be right. Yeah.
There's also
There
Richard
was him and-
Spencer.
Richard,
Richard Spencer, exactly. I see him occasionally on X, but
yeah.
So
Yeah.
Dinesh D'Souza has an interview with Richard Spencer, and they go down the line of policy positions. And Richard Spencer says, "I agree with the Democrats about everything," and he's like, he's a white nationalist and borderline Nazi adjacent. I don't know if that's maybe the fairest way to say it, but he's definitely like a white nationalist, and they go down the line of all the policy positions, and he agrees with the Democrats about everything.
Well, I don't think that guy's a good faith actor at all. Like anything he says, I don't believe. He's like such a caricature of a person where that's why he's kind of faded into irrelevancy. Like Milo has staying power. Not that they're in the same league, but they were associated with alt-right,
Mhm.
and again, that goes back to the point of Fuentes or using this, it's like certain elements to basically delegitimize some critique. Like you get somebody who's crazy, put them out there, and then say ridiculous stuff and associate. It's very easy to get people to go along with it.
Well,
So I think when he got punched, it was fake and staged. That was the fakest thing I've ever seen in my life. Richard Spencer was it?
I don't think I've seen that actually.
The dude practically slapped him like a little girl. I'm like, this is fake.
mhm.
I'm
So
like,
let
there's
me
no
ask
way.
you guys a question. Do we think that the words racist, the word Nazi, have they lost all meaning?
Yes.
You can't call people that constantly and then be proven wrong. So I'm actually okay with it.
Well, why do you think that there are now like national socialists like out in the open on X? Because if you push people into a corner and you call them those words,
Yeah.
if you get to a point where you're feeling completely disenfranchised, this is like the Groypers of sorts, where like, oh yeah, no, I am a Nazi, and then you get the Kanye song, and it becomes like,
Oh yeah.
if you're gonna call me that for being just slightly conservative, then I'll just lean all the way in, and so that creates the fictitious character that here's what I've noticed about a lot of left-wing motivation. It's almost as if they're trying to create that monster, so they're pushing for more authoritarianism to actually come into power. And some people are, I'm sure, going to say this about Antifa being labeled a terrorist organization. They're going to say Trump's a dictator.
This is the new Patriot Act or something like that.
Yeah, but it's almost as if because the left has become so obsessed with these shadows on the wall, these fictitious monsters in their head. And I'm not saying that what Trump's doing is making them into it, but you're pushing the answer to be the only this is not fascism, not tyranny, but harder authoritarian response, because that's the only answer at this point. You've left no choice. And I don't know if it's strategic on their part, like they're trying to bait, but it doesn't seem like, does it feel like the Overton window is shifting left right now? No. Look at Jimmy Kimmel's gone.
not gone.
More people are coming.
He will be though.
Well,
go ahead.
I was gonna say maybe we can loop this back around to Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
What they did is they essentially called him a Nazi so many times, and it's just so obvious that he's not a Nazi. So like you were saying, like these words start to lose meaning, right? And the one thing that I noticed about Charlie is that, or about especially specifically the assassination, is that they always say it's because of his rhetoric. His rhetoric is inspiring hate, is inspiring bigotry, misogynistic. His rhetoric is actually the exact same as the Nazis. And so what they do is they try to incentivize, or they create permission structures. That's what they're doing when they call somebody a fascist over and over again, or a Nazi over and over again. They're creating permission structures to enact violence on those people. And I know that's probably pretty obvious. But what I notice is that they always accuse him of his hateful rhetoric, but it really is their hateful rhetoric that is what essentially got him killed, you know? And
So,
and I want to give you guys a chance to respond, but I did want to end on that, on the video. Silas sent me a video that's kind of going viral right now about Frank Turek and his ride in the car with Charlie to the hospital. And so I don't want the show to go too long. I would probably sit here and stream for another couple hours, and maybe we can do another show soon, because I think this has been such an amazing discussion. I think this has been our best show yet. But please feel free to respond to what I said about the rhetoric and stuff, and then I'm going to queue up that Frank Turek video.
well, just real quick, I just want to throw this in. If you, first of all, if you constantly accuse your partner of cheating, eventually they will cheat. And 99% of the time when you're accusing them, it's because you're doing it yourself. That works in all facets of life. So you're accusing him of being a Nazi, it's probably because that's the view you have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it goes back to, always accuse your opponents of what you yourself are doing, right? We always talk about rules for radicals. We should just sit here and read rules for radicals.
We'll do an Alinsky show for sure.
I don't know if Silas has run into this. I'm sure he has online at least. But look at how they treat people that aren't white that support Trump. They claim that they're tolerant and that they hate white people and everybody else is great but white people and stuff. But then the minute that somebody that is not white strays from their thought pattern, all of a sudden they're happy to call them the N-word, anything you can think of. They will call them an Uncle Tom. They will call them a slave.
It's happening with Hispanics like crazy.
Yeah. That's even funnier that you bring Hispanics up, because their argument for illegals being here is slavery. Slaves got paid a slave's wage. This is a thing. That's what they're doing to the illegals. And they're arguing for that to be a thing now.
Who's going to pick the cotton? Who's going to pick the fruit?
Yeah.
Well, funny is,
it's real life.
the Hispanics that come here legally are more for immigration control than most white people. They're like, no, I went through this process the right way. You're not just going to come flooding in because you're taking my job. They frame it as the problem is they have control of the media. The Fairness Doctrine went away under Reagan, and then the Smith Modernization Act. Opinion journalism is presented as fact. Rachel Maddow, people take her seriously, even with that haircut. Keith Olbermann, Mr. Potato Head, what the hell is his name? Brian Stelter.
Oh, perfect. You queued it up. Look at that. Look at what Brian Stelter just said. I asked FCC Chair Brendan Carr if he had any new comment that ABC has pulled Jimmy Kimmel's show, and he sent me this GIF. So we're taking it. They're taking it back. Oh, did I not? Shoot. I'm getting used to it. Yeah. That's so. And that's honestly, people say that's immature. No, that's the appropriate response to Brian Stelter asking you a question, for one. But I think we're going to see some. Trump's hinted at it, removing ABC and NBC's or CBL all their license, which he has the ability to do that. And unless you're actually going to be even slightly objective and truthful, then you shouldn't have the privilege of being on the air. And they took NPR's funding. Yep. So
Trump is way too tolerant. Can we all just agree that Trump is just way too tolerant?
He's not the fascist we need, right?
Yeah. Right.
Seriously, it's absolutely insane to watch, because there was a woman that went viral for her video where she's begging Trump to put back the Munt Act or whatever, and it occurs to me, it's like, we're past that. You can put it back, but they're just going to keep the same shows and just say we don't consider this a news show. This is an opinion show. So all these same people that are getting brainwashed by the Rachel Maddows and those types of people will still have those same people talking to them. They'll find a way around that. You see what I'm saying? Now that platform exists and they've created entire channels around it, they'll find a way around it. You know what I mean?
They'll do what Jim Acosta did. They'll do what Don Lemon did. Do you remember Jim Acosta? What happened to him?
Yeah, he's a podcaster now. Him and Don
He's a
Lemon.
podcaster who interviewed an AI version of a dead kid.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
What happened to Kurt Eichenwald? Remember him?
Mm-mm.
No.
That was, oh my god, so funny. He's the guy that went on Tucker and he had a big binder saying that Trump was in a mental institution, and then he got caught showing his family anime porn, and he was trying to justify it. This was 2017-ish. And then someone sent him a GIF on Twitter, and he claimed it put him into a seizure. He was comically ridiculous. Jeffrey Toobin levels.
Yeah.
I believe you guys don't remember him. He wasn't having a tug though.
Yeah.
Well, did you want to cue up that clip, Tyler? I haven't seen this
Yeah, it's good.
this video yet.
So this is from Frank Turek, the guy that the guy in the white hat that everybody was saying, oh, he was signaling or something like that, and like somehow in on it or something. But Frank Turek was is one of Charlie's mentors for years, and so I think it's appropriate that we hear from him. He was there. He was in the car on the way. He helped to get Charlie in the car, in the SUV, to get to the hospital. And this is his first time speaking since the event. Let me just do a thing.
There. Now, here's what Erica wants me to relate on Sunday. This is going to be the hard part, but maybe also the comforting part. Charlie Kirk was literally like a son to me. I have 3 sons. He was like my 4th son. My 3 sons are a little bit older than Charlie. He was like my 4th son. So when he was hit, if your son got hit, what would you do? What would you do? I got in the car. Because if there was any way I could save him, I had to do something. I couldn't just, okay, just take him. You guys got it. So they got him into the side of the car. It was an SUV. It was the SUV we took over. And I'm on one side, and there's actually some video of this. Somebody's taking video of this. I'm on one side of the car, the right side, and they're getting Charlie in. So I run over to the other side, but the guy who was dragging him in is now blocking that entrance. So at that point, I run around to the back. I pop the back gate open, and I jump in the back. The car lurches forward. Apparently somebody jumped in the car. So the car lurches forward. So I almost fall out of the car, the SUV. Then I grab the thing and close it. And there's 5 of us in the car now. Justin's driving. Dan is up front with the GPS. Rick has got him. Rick's on my left, and Brian is there, and I'm coming over the back seat, and Charlie's laid out in front, just right in front of me. And Charlie's so tall, we can't close the door. We drove 4 miles, I don't know, it's 4 something miles, all the way to the hospital with the door open. To this day, I don't know how Brian stayed in the car, because we're just go, 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 go. We're trying to stop the bleeding. You saw it. And I'm yelling, come on, Charlie, come on, come on. Meanwhile, my phone is still on. My son and daughter-in-law are hearing this whole thing. And his security team, again, Justin, Dan, Brian, and Rick, they love Charlie. But they were much cooler than I mean, they're just carrying out, they're calmly, but they're swiftly doing exactly what they were trained to do. Rick starts praying out loud. I'm praying out loud. We're yelling, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. My son's hearing all this, and we're doing the best we can to navigate traffic. This is not a highway. We're on surface streets, and suddenly there's an ambulance coming toward us, and there was conversation in the car. Should we stop? We're like, no, just keep going, just keep going. The doctor later said that was the right thing to do. Ambulance goes by us. We're still heading to the hospital, trying to get there. At one point, somebody says, let's get there in one piece, because we're cutting through intersections, we're just beeping the horn. This is not a emergency vehicle. There's no lights. There's none of this. And I go, we got to start CPR. So I try and start that. Now, Charlie wasn't there. His eyes were fixed. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking past me right into eternity. He was with Jesus already. He was killed instantly and felt absolutely no pain. That's what I was told later. But of course, we had to try. And by the way, there was just nothing any of us could do about it. We were giving him CPR, but nothing was happening. It wasn't like if we had better first aid or we had better medical facilities or we were faster to the hospital, we could have saved him. We couldn't. So if that's any comfort at all, Charlie didn't suffer. He was gone. He was with Jesus, absent from the body, present with the Lord. That's where he was. Now, it is true, when we got to the hospital and they started working on him right away, they did get a pulse back. And so Rick and I were just, everyone's praying. We're just praying for a miracle. We had a small sliver of hope. And the doctor later said that we got a pulse because Charlie was a very healthy man, but the shot was catastrophic. So 20 or 30 minutes later, the surgeon came out and said he was dead.
Jeez.
Yeah. I want to say the left is the party of victimhood. And if they can't, well, I guess one way that they spread their victimhood is by creating other victims. Someone, I think, in the chat said that they're a death cult, and death is the ultimate, victim, basically. So in a roundabout way, that they just want to create pain in victims because they view themselves as the victim. And then the right is all about, independence and self-empowerment, and the most vital way we can do that is our connection to God. And Charlie, being a man of God, he was, the trophy that I think the victimhood was aiming for. But, it's creating a true turning point in the United States that is spreading beyond the campuses. And I do think, like I said before, God will use this as a way to catapult way more good than they can imagine.
Yeah. There's a quote here I just want to read. The tyrant dies and his rule is over. The martyr dies and his rule begins.
Yeah.
Amen.
Well, gentlemen, it's been real. I really appreciate you guys. I think this is a good community, and like Chopper Dave said, some fellowship there. It's good to have people that are like-minded coming together and kind of bouncing ideas off of each other and sharing experiences and stuff. And Joe, thank you so much for coming on.
I had a blast.
Yeah, we'll definitely do it again. And I think that we're in such a good situation right now politically. People are really waking up. People are coming back to God. I know that Charlie would say that the best way to create more political conservatives is to get them to believe in God and to believe in Christianity. And so if somebody, that's downstream, politics is downstream from religion. And so I just want to encourage everybody out there, anybody who's listening, or you guys, to investigate Christianity, because it really holds up under true investigation. Is it true? That's all that matters. Did he rise from the dead? I don't know. Investigate it and you'll see. I think you'll come to the conclusion that he did. And I think it's the most important thing that he can do in life. And I think in any mature adult, anybody who considers themselves a reasonable person, when there's claims like the Christian claims, you owe it to yourself to investigate them. and give it the time of day instead of just, instead of brushing them off, and also instead of just worshiping yourself and just and being your own God. I think that it's better to give your life to something bigger than yourselves. So, but again, I appreciate you guys so much. We're definitely going to do it again. And yeah, any last words from any of you guys?
No, I think you summed it up well.
All right. Cheers, gentlemen. I'll play us out here.